It's another Monday. It's another episode of the Earful Tower. Welcome, guys. If you're here for the first time, wondering what you're listening to, it's a podcast that I've called the Earful Tower. It's a play on words, similar to the Eiffel Tower, but it's for your ears. And every week, I get a different guest, some kind of expert in their respective fields, to come into the studio and explain to me, a hapless, lost Australian in a city of light. I get them to explain to me Paris and what they're doing here and how it all works, with the overall goal of eventually figuring out Paris and France. Now, today's episode is with Adrian Leeds, who is the empress of real estate in Paris. She's been selling homes here for 20 plus years. You might recognize her from House Hunters International, an American TV show where she helps Americans find their dream home in Paris. You might even recognize her from her beret and red lipstick. I recognized her on the street. That's how we met. And once again, I bumped into her on the street yesterday. You Facebook followers would have seen the picture. And Adrian was a great sport. She hung around to do a lot of bonus content for the Patreon supporters. 92 of you now. So thanks to you guys for supporting. We did a behind the scenes episode, and she also agreed that we're going to take a little live Facebook walk for Patreon members down Rue Vieille du Temple, one of the most interesting streets in Paris, where she's got a lot to say about the types of buildings there. Oh yes, and we also are in talks. In fact, it's already booked. It's going to happen in mid-April. We're going to do a live show. So if you're thinking about buying an apartment in Paris, or you're interested in that kind of thing, you want to be at this place, Café Méricourt, mid-April. All the details coming soon, but free entry to Patreon members. The rest of you guys will have to buy a ticket. Anyway, let's get on with it.
One man, one country, one red scooter. Here's the Earful Tower with Oliver G.
Adrian Leeds.
Yes.
Welcome.
Thank you, Oliver.
So what's your first thought of this little studio?
How I could turn it into a tiny little apartment.
And tiny would be the operative word here.
Yes.
What is this, 10 square meters or?
Oh, my guesstimate, it's about seven.
Seven
square meters.
Because they don't count the it's a sloping roof.
No, exactly. They don't count beyond 1.8 meters.
Which is like 6 feet, right?
Yeah, I guess, yeah. Which is called the Loi Carrez, which is the habitable space.
Okay.
And Carrez is the man's name that created the law. It doesn't mean carré as in square.
All right. Oh, that's just a coincidence.
Yeah, it's kind of funny, right?
So if anyone's listening for the first time and wondering what we're talking about, the studio is in what they call a chambre de bonne, a maid's quarters.
Yes, and I can attest to the 6 flights up.
I love it. Everyone brings it up. That's okay. We're feeling fit. We're feeling healthy.
Oh, yeah, but I've got 70 steps to my own apartment.
Really?
So it really wasn't that big a deal.
No. Is yours also a chambre de bonne?
No, well, actually, it was in the 17th century, the servants' quarters,
okay.
And there were many rooms that were combined, but now it's one nice 2-bedroom apartment.
Oh, that sounds nice. Is that in the Marais?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Marais.
Le Marais.
Le Marais.
Mm-hmm.
Before we get into talking about buying property and finding property and all that kind of stuff, is that a New Orleans accent?
Partly. It's probably a big mishmash.
A big old mishmash.
Yeah, because I've lived in New York.
All right.
New York, I've lived in Los Angeles. I've lived in Tennessee.
All the big ones.
I can do that too. And New Orleans.
New Orleans. I've been to New Orleans.
Really?
Yeah.
When?
I got 6 months ago.
Oh,
yeah.
Fun time.
Oh yeah, it was really good. It was in the summer. It was
hot.
I got my lucky alligator claw key ring, which I carried because I drove from New York to LA. Like your eyes just lit up.
And did New Orleans en route?
Yeah. So we went down the Southway. But I picked up this alligator claw, and it became my lucky charm for the whole trip.
I love it. Did you get drunk at Pat O'Brien's?
I'm not commenting on getting drunk.
Okay, never mind.
Had a drink.
It's all you need is one drink at Pat O'Brien's.
Which one's
to get
Pat
drunk.
O'Brien's?
Oh, a very famous piano bar down in the French Quarter, and they make a drink called the Hurricane.
No, I did. I went there for a drink, and I had a hurricane.
And there's no way to have a hurricane and not be drunk.
Okay,
at least not for
drunk.
me.
I was drunk. I try and keep a straight face. I'm a professional, but the truth is, yes, I got drunk in New Orleans.
Okay, well, we won't go any further.
We won't go any further into that.
Especially for New Orleans.
No. Anyhow, the truth is, I didn't pick your accent. I read your biography before you came in. But as lovely as it is to talk about the Deep South of the United States, we're here to talk Paris.
Yeah.
And I was hoping that you'd give me, and especially the listeners, but also especially me, tips on how to buy an apartment. But not just that.
How much time have you got?
We got about 15 minutes. Can't be done.
No, it's a big subject.
Yeah, I know.
It's a very big subject.
I'm already thinking that we might need to get you in more regularly than just once a season.
I'm happy to do that.
That's cool.
And divide it up into various topics.
We could make a whole sub-podcast. You know, like those, like a menu on a blog, and you click, or a website, you click it, a drop-down menu. That's we could have a drop-down blog podcast.
Yes, because the truth is that a rental property is really different than a property you purchase. These are two completely different animals.
So before we get into this, the whole idea of you giving advice, maybe you can give us some background on how you became the queen of real estate in Paris.
I'm not sure I want to be a queen of
Why not?
anything.
Princess? Sultan?
I was once called a czarina, but I think that's stretching it a bit.
Wow, czarina.
Yeah.
That's not a word that anyone uses very often.
I know, isn't
No.
it crazy? That's crazy. How did I do this? I kind of organically fell into it. I was working for a company called International Living, which really helps retirees move outside of the U.S., and I was running their Paris office, and their readers wanted someone to help them purchase properties.
This was back in
2002.
Okay, yeah.
So I didn't do it myself, but I found somebody who could do it, and I hired someone to assist them in finding property and then working through the process, and that became a bigger service. Little by little, it just grew, and before we knew it, we had a staff. And that's kind of, but I was also in the process of purchasing my own apartment. I did that in the year 2000. I went through the process myself, and I learned quite a lot, just, by the seat of my pants, so to speak.
Someone once left a comment, an iTunes review about this show, and they say that we fly by the seat of our pants in here. So I know the feeling.
It's also, there's nothing quite like experience.
Yeah, true.
I mean, you really, even if you study a subject, you really have to experience it to understand it fully. So I think experience is more important than education.
So you've got, 18 years of experience in terms of...
Oh, that sounds like a lot.
Your
I guess
experience,
it is.
if it
Makes
were
me
a
feel
human...
very old.
If your experience were a human, it could be voting. That's how much experience you have. Which means that you're an authority. 18 years is the authority cutoff in my books. So I'm glad to have you in here.
Well, I think I've sort of seen it all. Yeah. And I've also, as a result of working with other people, I began to purchase properties myself and become an investor myself. So, again, there goes the experience.
Right. You know the game.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And it is a bit of a game from what I understand.
Oh, yeah.
So let's talk about, let's do a, what's it called? Theoretical human that's out there somewhere.
Okay.
Living, dreaming of, you're imagining this person. They're out there.
Oh, that's easy. Everyone I talk to.
Okay, well, there you go. So they're out there in the world somewhere. They love Paris, like the rest of us. They want to move here, and they're thinking, oh, good gracious, my French isn't very good. Maybe I've got the money to buy an apartment, but it doesn't look easy. That's where you step in, right?
Yeah, I can step in from the very beginning, long before they even think about...
Before they even know they want one.
Well,
you
before they
them.
think about buying an apartment or even just coming and renting for a period of time to see what life is like. I will say this, anyone who comes and spends a year here is never going home.
Really? Once you've tasted the waters of
Well,
Paris, you're always thirsty.
Did you go home?
No. I've stayed here. But I'm only 3 years in.
The only people I know who go home because their children start having children and they want to be near their grandchildren. Really? Otherwise, there's not a lot of reason to go back. It's regressive in a way.
Well, that's good news to the podcast listeners because it means I'm here forever by the sounds of it till I'm a grandfather.
You could easily... Hey, I came from a 1-year sabbatical. Yeah. And that was
a lot of people
23 plus years ago.
A lot of people say they come to Paris for a year and they end up staying. So there's that shows the sort of power of Paris over people.
Paris is addictive. Also, when you go anywhere, you get involved in it, the city. You make friends. You create a life. You learn
French if you're lucky.
You learn some French. It's not something you want to undo and have to start over somewhere else.
Sure.
The other aspect to that is that, you start to understand what the benefits are of this lifestyle. And going back to the other lifestyle starts to look a little bit scary.
Oh, really?
Well, I don't want to go back to driving a car, owning and operating a car every day, the expense of it, the hassle of it. I like being a pedestrian. I like the freedom that we have.
You must miss the hurricane drinks.
No,
No,
I don't
not
miss
even that.
No, don't even miss the hurricane drinks. There's plenty of wine, and wine is cheap.
Yeah, you know what I like? I like walking around the city on foot.
Exactly.
And bumping into people.
Oh, all the time.
For
right?
example, how we met.
We did.
Do you remember that?
We did. I remember it really well.
Where was it?
On Rue Pierre Béranger, in front of my daughter's grammar school. Collège, not grammar school,
Okay.
Collège, right? In my neighborhood.
In the heart of the... Is that Upper Marais? Is that what you'd call it?
The Haut-Marais.
Au Marais.
Mm-hmm.
And we're just... You were walking around running an errand or something.
Mm-hmm.
And I ran up behind you shouting, screaming, waving an umbrella, something like that. Is that
Going, who the hell are you?
I said... do you remember? I said, Adrian Leeds. And you turned around and you said... you go, yeah, what? What, mate? That's what you said.
I did not.
You held up some
You
kind of
lie.
pepper spray or something like that. No, you didn't. And I was
Don't
like,
believe him, he lies.
I said, no, I know. I said, I know exactly who you are. I said, you must know who I am. You said, no. And I said, well, that's all right.
Sorry about that.
I said, I don't know. I just had, because I know we got a lot of mutual friends, or at
We
least
do.
mutual.
We have lots of mutual
yeah,
friends.
I mean, a lot of the guests that have been on this show, you probably know, including April Pett,
Yeah.
tour guide.
Just had lunch with with April in Paris.
Yeah, so
Today.
So that was cool, and then you agreed to come on the show, and here we are.
Mm-hmm.
And let's go back to that fictional or theoretical person.
The person who's dreaming of living in France.
Where should we imagine them?
Well, interestingly enough, there's a huge Francophile community in California. I don't know if this interests you or not.
I'll tell you what. Half of the listeners to this show are in America, and there are more listeners in California
Than anywhere
in
else.
France.
About 20%. I find that about 20% of our clients come out of California.
Okay.
San Francisco is a really big market because that's where the first Alliance Française was in the
Is it
United
so?
States. So there are a lot of French there and a lot of Francophiles there.
Do you think that there are people in San Francisco right now listening,
Absolutely.
thinking that we're narrowing it down from the whole world to USA to California to San Francisco? Let's say a district.
Well,
Mission district.
Okay. San Francisco is not the only city in the United
you're right.
States.
I was just trying to make one person feel really special. We can split. We can go back to like Fiji if you want. We can go anywhere.
They're everywhere.
That's the
They
thing.
are.
Everyone
They're
wants to be
everywhere.
here, right?
Well, the joke is that the number one American dream is to live in France.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's the American dream nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh.
Especially given the political climate in the U.S.
Yeah. What a lot of people want to, or some people want to leave. and come
I
over.
am confident that the French consulates in the United States are really overwhelmed at the moment with visa applications. I know that because I know how many people I'm working with and talking to and assisting them with getting their visas to come over here.
And it's tough for Americans to come to Paris, as I understand, or France.
No, the
No.
U.S. passport is the golden passport. They only have to prove that they have enough money to live on, which is the SMEEK, the
SMEEK,
minimum
yeah.
wage.
Yep.
They have to show that they have health insurance, so that's easy. And they have to show that they have accommodations.
So then why are Americans saying it's so hard to move here? I've heard people say it before.
Because it's in their head and they don't really know the reality.
There you go, guys. It's not that hard.
No, it's
Apparently.
not that hard.
Not that hard.
When you get a visa, a visitor visa, you do have to sign something that says that you aren't going to work here. So a lot of people think in their minds that, well, if I can't legally work there, then I'm not going to be able to earn any money. And therefore, in their heads, they think they can't do it. But I've been teaching people for years how to do that and make the transition. Because I could not legally work the first 10 years I lived here
Really?
and somehow managed to survive.
Wow, 10 years. Hey, you know. What was I going to say? Because you brought up this idea of consulting and helping people out. As I understand, you're not anyone that thinks you're just the. What was I going to say? What was the word you used? Tsarina?
The Tsarina
of real estate. There's a lot more to it than that. You're a consultant and a helper and a from the get-go.
I've been doing that for a really long time. Yeah.
So you know your stuff. Okay, let's go back to this fictional person.
Okay.
They don't have to be in the
No, go
Mission
ahead.
District of San Francisco, wherever they are. And they're coming here to buy a house. They want to live the dream.
Okay.
Now, they've already read the books.
Okay, now wait a minute. Purchase a property does not necessarily mean they're moving here.
Okay.
That just means they're making an
Plot
investment
twist.
here.
Okay.
Most of the people we work with want to purchase something that they can use now and for a few weeks, a year even, and then maybe eventually move into it.
Yeah, okay.
So it's for their future.
Okay. Well, I didn't even consider that.
But that's actually most of the people we work with.
Okay.
Eventually, very often, they do move into it. We have two couples who are both living right this minute in 27 square meters with 2 cats.
Really?
And they closed up their U.S. residences lock, stock, and barrel and are living in their tiny spaces, and they're happy as clams.
Is that happy as clams? Is that a thing? I've never heard that one before.
No.
Happy as clams?
Yeah.
Are clams happy? Oh, because it looks like a smile, I guess.
I
Right?
guess. I never thought of
Is
that.
there enough room to swing 2 cats in 27 meters?
Obviously.
No. Yes?
Hey, it's surprising to me, but I can attest to this.
So I want to run something by you.
Okay.
I think I've had a lot of authors on this show. A lot of them have written books about the struggles of moving to Paris.
I'm working on one myself.
You're
Did
working
you
on
know
one?
that?
I didn't know that.
I am.
Do you want to come on and talk about it when you get it published?
It's it's not written yet. I just completed the book proposal. It was an agent who came to me to write about a property that I purchased and then sold. It was a viager. Do you know what a viager is?
Viager, no. Is that a type of... No, I don't know.
A viager is a life annuity property. So it's sold by the person who owns it when they're in their elder years at a smaller amount of money, and then there's a monthly payment made to them for the rest of their life, and they hold the rights of usage until their death. And when they die, it reverts to the person who actually bought it. So the person who has purchased the property is betting on the death of the viager.
What an interesting concept.
Yes, it is.
And
it's really French.
So the agent came to you and they wanted you to... The literary agent wanted you to write a book.
About the story of my purchasing this property, what it took to acquire, which took 4 years to acquire.
So why do you have to write a proposal for it if they've already come to you because they want the book?
No, it's an agent who came to me. The book proposal then goes to the publishers.
I see.
I have written a few chapters, but then once we get a book deal, then I'm going to write the book. So it's going to be a little while before it's out, and that's the basis of the story. But then my agent wanted me to tell more of how did I get to this point.
Gotcha.
So that's like the whole of the donut, the viager.
Wow, okay. You threw me for one then.
Sorry.
Because I was about to say something about plumbing, and now I'm thinking about your book.
That'll be down the road.
I was going to say, but I wonder if this is in your book too. A lot of the stories that people write about Paris tell about the difficulties and the struggles of having an apartment.
Well, this is very much...
And
it'll be very much a part of that.
Yeah.
It's all it's also the bureaucratic and administrative aspects of it.
But not just that. There's always a chapter about a leak and a plumbing problem.
Oh, I just had one this week.
Yeah, right? It's part of life in Paris, isn't it?
Oh,
Why is
yes.
that? So I was going to say, is the best job to have in this city being a plumber?
Yes.
Because there's always work to do.
And I have a great plumber if you ever need one.
Really?
But
What makes a great plumber?
smart, intelligent, shows up, right?
Does the job?
Yes.
Okay. Hang on, we got way
we
sidetracked. But that's
certainly
okay.
did.
We're allowed to do that. It's no problem. What I was going to say, so paint a picture of some tips maybe that these people wanting to move here need to think about. Maybe you can reel a few off.
Okay, well, my number one tip is never do it alone.
Okay.
Whether it's with us or with someone else.
Yeah.
I would not attempt taking this on without good professional advice and knowing what to expect, because the system is different, the laws are different, the language is different, and it's as complicated as the French can make anything.
They like doing that, don't they? Making things
Yeah, they're not
complicated.
happy unless it's complicated.
Yeah.
It's not intellectual if it's not complicated. So,
Mm.
and no, seriously, and the bureaucratic aspects are so overwhelming. It's
Yeah.
mind-boggling.
Do you know what when I and this is a tip for you guys if you're moving here too. When I moved to France and Paris, I'd heard all these stories. So my approach was just, it's going to be difficult, Oliver, I said to myself, just laugh it off and just every administrative hurdle, just laugh it off. So every time that this kind of thing happened, and it took me a year to get my carte vitale and social security and all that, and every time there was a roadblock, I went, ha!
One more hurdle
Yeah.
that you jumped,
So
right?
if you're expecting it, it's all right. But if you're not expecting it, it would get you down. You hear of these people that leave because they've been beaten to death with red
it
tape.
can happen. But it's also if you're willing to face challenges, that can make you feel really good about your ability to overcome them.
Hey, it always feels good to finish a hurdles race. Don't you find that when you're out
Exactly.
hurdling, Adrian?
Yes,
I'm always thinking
like
that.
going up 6 flights of stairs.
Exactly.
Yes,
There you
we
go.
made
Just like
it.
that. Yeah, it's the little wins. The little wins. Okay, what are some other pieces of advice?
Oh, do your homework
Mm-hmm.
for sure. Learn as much as you can, talk to as many people as you can, so that you know what you're getting involved in. But it all starts with getting the professional advice anyway. Then the rest comes.
Yeah. What about location?
Oh well, that's a given. This is
Well,
real estate.
I'm taking it from the start. Remember?
Okay, but it depends on what your goals are.
Uh,
If it's and that's the other thing. You have to really understand what your goals are, what you're trying to accomplish. If it's pure investment, you're going to approach it differently than if it's going to be, a home for your future. So that's where we start anyway. It's the number one question. What are you going to do with this property?
Yeah.
What do you expect from it?
And some people want an investment, some people want to move there, some people want to put it on Airbnb for the legal 4 months of the year.
That's
or whatever.
one of the shows we're going to do all by itself.
Really?
We're going to talk about short-term
Are we?
rentals in Paris. Oh, absolutely. We need to do that, actually. People need to understand it. It's complicated.
Yeah. People don't really understand it.
No.
I don't understand it.
No, I'm not sure I do either, even after all
What?
this. But no, that we could make that up.
What about,
Sure.
here's an idea. If you're listening to this and you're thinking, I want to hear more from Adrian on the Eiffel Tower, send me an email with questions.
Good idea.
And that way we could do, how do you feel about doing Facebook videos, live videos? Would you sit and do an
Sure.
answering session? Okay,
Sure.
we'll schedule that for the future. Anyone that's got a question, send it in, and we will literally go through the questions, as long as they're not really boring questions.
Well, we get to choose what questions we
We can
answer, right?
choose. Okay, so we'll answer like the 10 best ones. Maybe we'll do it live and people can send their questions as we're talking.
That's fun.
Yeah, that's pretty fun. And we can go and sit in front of the Eiffel Tower, have some
Okay.
cheese and a picnic to me
On a nice weather day.
on a nice
thank
day.
you.
Yeah, when it's warmer. On the day that we're recording, we thought it was snowing when we were sitting in the cafe, didn't we? But it was just,
might have been.
it was dandruff from above, I think. I think there was someone sitting on the first floor. No. So the thing is with this show is time passes really quickly, and I realize we're sort of running out of time.
Okay.
So I wondered if we could do a little discussion about the areas of Paris that are
Location. You want to talk about location?
Yeah, location.
Location.
Sort of all the interesting bits about location, because I mean, obviously, Central is good.
Central Paris is good in many, many respects. It's certainly good for investment. It's certainly good for rental, and it's a great place to live because, as I joke, you can always go home and change your shoes midday if you want to, right? There are lots of bargains to be had in the outer districts, however, and there are outer districts that are going to increase in value.
And when you say outer districts, you don't mean the banlieue,
9
you mean
plus.
like...
No, I mean nine districts, arrondissement,
Arrondissements, yeah.
9 through 20.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. I don't believe in living outside of center.
Okay,
That's me personally.
sure.
I believe that if you're going to live outside of center, you might as well not live in Paris at all.
Yeah.
Because you're not going to want to do the commutes. It's
Sure.
going to be more difficult.
And center is just 1 to 9. We can
Well,
put 10 in there.
Central Paris
1, 2,
is
3, 4.
No, 1 through basically, from a rental standpoint, 1 through 7.
Okay.
Those are the districts that are the most highly requested.
Mm-hmm.
But 8th is still pretty central.
Yeah.
So I'm talking about the outer part of the escargot.
Yeah. The outside. If Paris was a donut, which people don't usually compare it to.
It's an escargot.
Yeah, okay. But if it was a donut, the outer circle would be the ring of the donut, and you want to
Right.
live in the whole of the donut.
Exactly.
To use your
As
donut
much
metaphor
as
from
much
before.
But of course, it's from a real estate investment standpoint, yes. From a personal standpoint, yes. Now, there are lots of great outer districts where you can get a lot more space for your money, and as long as you're on really good metro lines and bus lines, which is pretty much true anywhere, then you can really enjoy living in Paris. It's not a problem.
So I used to live in the second, like the bullseye of Paris.
Rue Montorgueil district?
I was just off Rue Greneta, so just off. Really lovely little street. Yeah, that's nice.
It is.
A bit
Very up and coming.
up and coming in the center of Paris.
Well, I think of that district as colorful because on the south side you're bordered by Les Halles, which has gone through lots of transitions.
Sure, yeah.
On the east side you're bordered by the red light district.
Yeah,
Rue
that's why I moved there.
Saint-Denis. On the
No, I'm
left
just kidding.
side, on the west side, you're bordered by the financial district, the Bourse and
Bourse,
all
yeah.
of that, right? And on the north, it's bordered by the garment district, the Sentier.
Yeah.
So it's very eclectic. And it's changing very rapidly because the gay community went from the fourth to the third, now to the second.
They're aiming for number one. I see a
well,
trend.
Well, there is a trend in real estate. The gay community tends to gentrify an area very quickly. And if you want to follow good real estate trends, you follow the gay community.
Yeah.
And what's happened is...
Also, if you want to follow good dancing, follow the gay
Dancing.
community. For sure. They got the best music.
Ah, there you go. Okay, well, what I was about to say was that they've kind of chased out the girls because they don't care about the girls.
Yeah.
So the red light district is really changing quickly and becoming...
Let's
It's
be honest,
gentrifying
Adrian. That red
fast.
light district in the second isn't very. It's kind of seedy and gross, don't you think? I'm not even going in there. I mean, just from the outside.
It's almost defunct at this
Yeah.
point. If you walk up Rue Saint-Denis now, you'll see some really hip restaurants and cafes
Yeah.
spotted by the sex shops. So little by little, the sex shops are going, and the
Yeah.
hip spots are coming in. So
That makes sense.
So if you are looking for a good investment,
I should have
that's where I
I should
think.
have bought the apartment I lived in
Ah.
because I moved out. That's what I was about to get to. Now I live in the 11th.
well, how do you like the 11th?
Trendy,
Yeah.
edgy,
Yeah.
but it's outside of the center.
Yeah, but the 11th is really cool. A
It's
lot
growing.
of the 11th is nice.
You know, regular listeners will have heard me talk about how the very street I live on, which is Rue de la Fontaine-au-Roi.
Oh, I know this street
Yeah,
really well. I have lots of friends on this street,
Okay,
actually.
now you got another one, Adrian.
Uh-huh.
So that it's changing so quickly that the building right near me used to be like an old restaurant, like an old Senegalese restaurant or something. And then just overnight, one day I walked out and it was an organic food shop. And I told the story before. It was quite uncomfortable because I went in on the first day, befriended the man, and then I had to talk to him every day. And I felt guilty if I bought my vegetables elsewhere. and then to highlight how quickly it's changing, in the 2 months since it opened, it just changed again to a new restaurant. It's opening a new restaurant as we speak.
Wow.
So it's just quick. You can see it's,
Right.
So quick.
I know. I got really upset this last week because on Rue de Bretagne, which is my lifeline
Oh,
of
that's
the
a nice one.
Marais,
Fashionable, trendy.
yes, well, all the new merchants seem to be anything that sells sugar. You know, Pierre Hermé, Macaron, and there's a new cookie shop, and
Dangerous.
there's a new Amarino,
Yeah.
and all they're selling is sugar. And I'm thinking, oh my God, can we? I'll take an organic shop.
Yeah, okay, we
over
could do a
that.
trade. But
Okay.
what I was going to say is the 11th where I live, it feels very central. I mean, as long as you don't have to go to the Eiffel Tower or something, if you're going into the center of the city, you can walk. You know, it's like 10 minutes walk to Republic or whatever. So it still feels central to me.
Well, the 11th is one of those really good, hip, districts that's pretty close because you're close to the Bastille. It's bordered by the 3rd, so you can cross over Boulevard Beaumarchais right into the 3rd quickly, easily. And I know a lot of people who are living in the 11th and like it.
So what about for, we're going to sort of wrap this up, but
Okay.
let's say you're not wealthy and you can't afford to live centrally, because I assume the center of the snail is very the
Expensive.
priciest. Yeah.
Very, very pricey.
So when we're in that outer ring, you still want to live in Paris, but you're thinking, too expensive. I have to go one step cheaper. Which out of the following, so 10 plus, where should we be aiming for?
Ooh, that's a big question.
That's a big question.
depends on how open you are to colorful areas.
I'm very open to colorful.
Colorful.
Yeah.
Right.
Go on, give me color.
Give you color. Well, as I said, the second, even above the second into the 10th, if you're willing to be in something colorful.
Yeah.
But you can get some really amazing bargains in certain areas of the 20th.
Yeah, Belleville.
Belleville for sure, like around the Père Lachaise Cemetery, Gambetta, that area in the 20th can be really, really wonderful. Mm-hmm.
Just
and
make sure
even
you're
in
outside.
Montmartre.
Right.
Montmartre, the 18th is not very expensive, believe it or not.
Okay, interesting.
And it's very cool.
Mm.
But it's a bit remote because of the hill.
Hard to get home. Uphill, walk uphill. Easy to get
downhill
else,
easy.
You take a Valley bicycle.
Especially when the elevators are not working in the metro.
Oh la la. Mm-hmm. The deepest metros are Abbess.
Oh yeah,
that's the deepest one.
Yeah, you don't want to have to climb those stairs. That's for sure.
Yeah, almost as bad as these stairs.
Almost.
Okay, well, on that note, Adrian, I think we've realized that this is a very big topic to tackle. Mm-hmm. So you guys who are listening and enjoying hearing an expert talk about the process of moving to Paris, send in your questions. And then we'll get you back in and we'll ask answer some of these questions.
I'd be delighted.
Great.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so this is Adrian. You want to buy a house, you want consulting, go to her. What's your website?
AdrianLeeds.com.
AdrianLeeds.com. It's that simple.
Yeah, but it's ADRIAN, like a guy, LEEDS.com.
It's like, does anyone ever do the Rocky bit to you?
Yeah, every day.
Go on,
Adrian.
Can you do it?
I can't quite do it myself.
Rocky!
Very good. Excellent.
Adrian.
I'm impressed.
Yeah, I've been practicing because I knew it. No, that's not true. All right, well, thanks for coming in the studio.
Thank you.
Hey, thank you. We'll see you next time.
Okay, ciao.
You're listening to the Earful Tower podcast.
Well, there you have it. That was Adrian Leeds. We talked for half an hour. Usually I keep it a bit shorter, but with that in mind, I'm not going to have any story at the end. But I will read out a few of your lovely reviews that came in over the past week. One caught my attention. Someone wrote a whole review. Girls Travel World is the website. girlstravelworld.wordpress.com. And get an earful of this. His podcasts are delicious, much like a decadent creme brulee that you never want to end. You just savor every bite, the crunch, the creamy, the egg, and the sweet vanilla. That is exactly the warm feeling I get when listening to his show. I crack open the podcast, and it's all smooth until I lick the ramekin clean. I didn't even know what a ramekin was, but now I do. It's the bowl that a creme brulee comes in. Thanks for that review, Girls Travel World. That was very friendly of you. So now we're a creme brulee podcast, apparently. That's cool. I'll read a few iTunes reviews, because if you can't support the show or you don't feel like chipping in, that's fair enough. You can leave an iTunes review. That's a good way to support it. Here's one. I found it kind of interesting. Sent in by Rocky Lynch. And he says, it's okay to be an American in Paris. That's the headline of it. So I'm going to cut it short. He's been to Paris a bunch of times. This is Jim from Winter Park in Florida, he says. My biggest takeaway from this show is that it's okay to hang out in France, but not always with the French people. Thanks for letting me hang out with your expat network of friends and colleagues for a half hour every week. See you next Monday. 5 stars. Thanks very much, Jim from Winter Park. And that's an interesting point, because I was the same when I moved to Paris. I wanted to try and meet Parisians and hang out with French people. But as time passed, I realized that I don't know, it was really nice to make friends with expats as well. And the people that I have coming on the show are often expats, often foreigners here in Paris, a few French people as well. But yeah, it's interesting, and they've got a lot to say too, as you no doubt have heard over the past 2.5 seasons. So thanks for listening, and see you next Monday. Yeah, you're referring to the shows that come out on every Monday, unless we are going to see you next Monday, which would be today. So if I've missed that appointment, Jim from Winter Park, just send me an email, and my apologies in advance. Last review. This one's from Michelle, although her name is Bongo McJongo Stuyton. On a recent visit to Paris, I checked out some of the places from the show, and at Le Peloton Cafe, I happened to sit next to Oliver. I remember this, of course. So I saw the red scooter, I put it all together, and before you knew it, we got talking. Yeah, we ended up going on a walking tour, me and Michelle. This is her review of it. It really was the best. It's so refreshing to see the vibrance and growth of Paris from this new generation carving out a place for themselves in this magical city. Don't hesitate to reach out to Oliver. You may end up having a truly magical Paris day just like me. Well, that's what happened. I was sitting in the Peloton Cafe. Next thing I know, I'm sitting next to someone who's admiring the scooter. They recognized it from the show. It was all pretty wild. And then, it was our last day in Paris, and she wanted to see the canal. I said, hey, look, you want to support the show? I'll take you on a walking tour. I'm no walking tour expert. I don't know the history of Paris or which king and queen was. If you listen to the show, you know I got no idea. But I can show you the Eiffel Tower's Paris and my Paris. And if you want to support the show, it is a good way of doing it. So yeah, get in touch, like Michelle says. And thanks for meeting up with me, Michelle. That was really fun. I think we can wind it up now. All you guys, thanks for listening. Be sure to follow on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. I think we got almost 1,000 Instagram followers. So by the time you hear this, you could be number 1,000. Like I said before, Patreon members, lots of bonus stuff right now. If you've been thinking about joining for a while, today is the day to do it. And I'll see you next Monday. Thanks for listening.